Hi everyone, Moptop here. I listen to it so you don't have to. And today we are going over the releases for the month of January 2021. January 2021 was a month in which I decided I would try to listen to every music release. Now this turned out quite half-measured because there's a ton of fucking music that comes out and literally not all of it's cataloged, so it's kind of fucking impossible for me to listen to literally everything. But I did listen to over 450 releases that came out in January. Mixtapes, albums, EP, singles. I tried getting everything I could. I went through the Rate Your Music lists and I tried to see what I could listen to. There was so much. There was too much. So I decided I'd take my list, I'd maybe take some of the top rated things, I'd do the best I could, but this video needs to come out eventually. I'm trying to do every month this year, and I'm not trying to listen to everything anymore. This was a mistake. So, I'm going to go through it sequentially, and I'm going to pick out some highlights, pick out some things I really liked, pick out some things I fucking hated, and we'll go from there. Now, disclaimer, I wanted to let you guys know I have found I don't really like ambient, I don't really like metal, and I don't really like quite a few other things. So if there's an album like death metal where it's just like a guy being on the mic like, that was out for me. I did have to start dropping albums about halfway through the month when I realized it was just too much for me to deal with. But other than that, I tried to listen to everything. I gave everything a fair shake. Obviously, I have personal preferences, but this is coming from me, and I feel like this will set a good standard going forward for the rest of the year, so you guys can kind of understand my musical taste. January 1st, we had Fax Gang with their debut album, Aethernet. Now, this album was quite decent. I wanted to like it. I felt like I could have liked it, but there was just so much noise that they put on the album. Just so much random, discordant noise that kind of just distracted from the songs for me. Now, I get why some people enjoy that aesthetic. I mean, I listened to one album that was just fucking literally blasting noise into my ears. So, obviously, if there's a niche for that, there's a niche for this. So, give it a try if you like that type of music. I thought it was decent other than that. Ferreira came out with Bob's Son this month. Bob's Son, I really enjoyed the kind of just jazzy, conscious, low tempo aesthetic to this thing. It felt very comfortable to listen to. I wasn't in love with it, but it was an enjoyable listen, and I'm excited to hear more from this guy. I might actually go back and listen to his first album, or the one that came before this if it wasn't his first one, because I've heard good things about that one as well. Anavitoria came out with their album Core. This one I enjoyed more on first listen, but going back to it, it's very low tempo, it's very boring, it's all very samey sounding, and I don't really like the vocal inflections that the girls over at Anavitoria put on these songs. Like, they all sound very similar and kind of like disinterested in a way. Disinterested might not be the right word, but there's just something, there's an X factor missing to this type of music. I feel like they need to bring more to the table. The Dirty No with Fuck Art. This sounded like a parody of like kind of like pop, punk, whatever genre it was. Kind of like, emo, I guess. I'm probably getting that wrong, but it's kind of like, it felt like a parody of whatever genre it was. So I didn't really care for this one. Fievel is Glauque. Came out with God's Trashmen, Sent to the Right Mess. This album was very interesting. It was a kind of low tempo, jazzy, kind of like, I wouldn't say experimental, but it was very, like, cool feeling. Like, it felt like a very, like, indie, garage underground project where this girl is just, singing out some jazz, and I enjoyed it quite a bit. It grew on me when I listened to it second time. First time I kind of I didn't really enjoy it much, but I feel like this album has some potential in it. I enjoyed it a bit once I kind of understood more what I was getting myself into. Wolf Circus with Telephone Dreams. They came out with this fun Caro Bonito-esque record. Once I really enjoyed it. I feel like the vocals can be kind of weak. The lyricism is kind of weak. But just the overall tone and attitude with this album I enjoyed. I feel like I'm looking forward to more coming from this group if I happen to hear something from them again. Space Theater came out with the album Music Planet. This very like eclectic jazzy mix, pure instrumental, no vocals. It was very upon re-listen, I was not in love with it, but you know, jazz as we'll find with how I generally listen to this music during January, jazz is generally pretty enjoyable. So if you like jazz, I'd give that a listen. The Faggets with We Don't Give a Shit About Fuck. This album sucked. This album sounded like if Loaded Diaper was a real band. Nachtreich came out with a little fun, little cool neoclassical dark EP called All Is Still. This is a very, you know, just like classical, straightforward EP with some dark ambient tones. I enjoyed it more than I thought I was going to. So if you have like a classical fix, or if you're interested in hearing what classical is doing these days in a modern sense, I'd give this one a listen. I enjoyed it. January 2nd, we have Yotam Perel, also known by his internet alias Lazy Pillow, coming out with an album called Hills and Homes. This one is a very like singer-songwriter-esque indie rock, somewhat depressing little album where, you know, I feel like his general songwriting ability, both in terms of instrumental and vocals, are quite good. I enjoyed this one more than most things I've heard this month, which really surprised me. I did not expect going into, because I've been following Lazy Pillow for a while, and like I've kind of heard his music, but I was never that into it. But this album was actually quite good for me. I was surprised that he had kind of like the chops to be able to put in a production that was this pleasant. So I actually recommend this one. If you have, you know, your plate open for new albums, I'd say give Yotam Perel's Hills and Homes a listen. I enjoyed it quite a bit. On January 3rd, we had the YouTuber formerly known as Digibro coming out on her band Trial of the Golden Witch, coming out with the album The Witch in Gold. The Golden Witch's music has always been quite poor in my opinion. I've never really liked the production always sounds very rough. The vocals and instrumentals rarely mesh in a cohesive and nice sounding way. So whenever I go into a Golden Witch album, I'm thinking this is going to be shit. So when my expectations are subverted and the album actually isn't that shit, I'm pleasantly surprised. And this album, The Witch in Gold, was not that bad. So I don't enjoy it much, but it was a pleasantly surprising album coming from the Golden Witch. For January 4th, we have the Japanese producer Kobaryo coming out with Super Dream Zone. Now this is a fun, head pump, you know, heart pumping, head rocking banger of an album. I'm being emphatic, but I mean it's, you know, it's decent. I'm not that big of a fan, but you know, if you're looking for some very like boom boom, you know, pounding bass, pounding instrumental, danceable album that you want to jam out with your friends in the car, this might be good to maybe glean a song or two off. You might want to go through here and see what you enjoy. My one friend who's more into this type of music described it as very happy sounding and very samey. So it might get old after a while if you're like into this genre. January 5th, I wanted to shout out the Thundering Hooves album, Vestiges. This was one of the few metal albums I sat through and did not hate. I don't know if that says much. That might just mean that this is very middle-of-the-road metal music and it won't really appeal to metalheads, but I sat through it and I didn't hate it. So that's a seal of approval from me. From January 6th, we have Yoasobi with The Book. Now this was a debut EP from the Japanese pop duo Yoasobi. I enjoyed it more on first listen, but I find often with J-pop that if it's not really like gold standard, it's going to kind of, you know, your enjoyment of it is going to decrease as you listen to more of it, because the songs actually aren't all that deep. They're kind of just enjoyable, like pleasant, but they're not like great. So this might actually degrade as I listen to it more, but for the most part, I'd say it's enjoyable. Like I've listened to plenty of J-pop this month, and this was one of the better examples of it that I found. So I'd recommend you give it a listen. It's got more enjoyable melodies, and like it feels like it has more like meat on the bones. Like it doesn't feel like it's a house of cards that will blow over under scrutiny. I think this is an enjoyable one, and if you like J-pop, I'd suggest giving this one a listen. We also on January 6th from another Japanese singer. We got Misako Uno with Sweet Hug. This is more going in the direction of what I was talking about. It's not incredible. It's not groundbreaking, but it's enjoyable. It's kind of fun. So, and you might pick, like, with these types of albums, it might just be like throwing shit at the wall until something sticks. So if there might be a single on one of these types of albums that you might really enjoy. So I'd suggest giving it a listen, seeing what you can suss out from it. And overall, it's enjoyable, but if you listen to this again and again, you might get fucking sick of it after a bit. Skipping ahead to the second New Music Friday of the year, January 8th, we got Barry Gibb with Green Fields, the Gibb Brothers Song Collection Volume 1, I believe is the full title. This is just Barry Gibb getting a bunch of country singers onto a new project where he sings a bunch of old Bee Gees songs. Barry Gibb, of course, being one of the founding members of the Bee Gees. It was him and his brothers. Barry Gibb's the only living member of the Bee Gees brothers left. So, you know, going into it with that tone that he's kind of making this album as a way to remember his brothers and bringing on all these different collaborators, it's a very wholesome project in that sense. Like, it kind of gets you emotional and just kind of like the idea that, like, you know, he's trying to honor his brother's memories. And I find that very sweet. I appreciate that sentiment. That being said, you could probably just listen to the Bee Gees versions of these songs. Like, giving them more of a country flair, that the way he does, is interesting. And I feel like you might find like a song or two out of this that might be different enough from the other Bee Gees songs to be, that you can appreciate them. But overall, it's just okay. It's nothing outstanding, but I enjoyed it a bit. We got Passenger, guy who sang that Love Her, If You Love Her, Then You'll Let Her Go song. Coming out with the project Songs for the Drunk and Brokenhearted. Now, if you didn't like that song, you might not like this one, because most of his songs, you know, the way he always sings the same way. He kind of has like that certain voice, but I enjoyed this record. I mean, it's very plain. It's very, you know, like pop, radio-friendly pop. But I feel like it does have a little bit of bite. It has a little bit of spark. I feel like the instrumentals switch up enough that it's interesting to listen to throughout. And I feel like the song subjects can be quite, you know, they can be quite touching. And this is, you know, he's going for a very somber record in this regard. So if you can stand radio pop, if you are not looking for anything too groundbreaking and maybe just something that's pleasant sounding, Songs for the Drunk and Brokenhearted is not the worst you can do. Viagra Boys with their welfare jazz record. I enjoyed this. It's kind of weird. It's like very off-kilter songwriting. It's very like, I think it's described as post-rock or post-punk. And that kind of just describes, like, as I've come to understand, that it's rock, but it's like weird. It's off-kilter. It's not supposed to really appeal to rock, like, you know, pop rock or, you know, general rock sensibilities. It's supposed to be kind of strange, supposed to be kind of spoken word-ish at parts. That being said, it's an interesting listen. I don't really take away any songs that I really enjoy from it, but I'd suggest giving it a try. It has something to offer for everybody, for most people at least. And even if you don't come away with it enjoying it to a considerable degree, it's still an interesting perspective to kind of explore in music, this weird kind of grungy, I think I've heard him described as kind of like douchebag asshole type rock. That might be a bit extreme, but scumbag, maybe. Scumbags might be a better word. And yeah, it's just really, really kind of weird to look at this corner of human existence. Not that they're like anything too crazy, but it's kind of like odd. They're odd. So it's odd post-rock for an odd world. Coca-Cola with A Gift to Us All. Now this is I think it's described as breakbeat, drum and bass maybe. It's very like video game-esque sounding. I enjoyed this one considerably. More than most projects this month. I would say it's in my top 5. Nothing crazy, but I give it a listen if you enjoy that type of video game music-y, breakbeat-y, poppy kind of electronic music. Next we got Aaron Fraser's Introducing. I really liked the jazz production on this record. It was fun, poppy, felt like city-like this type of music you would hear on like a commercial for like a bank or something. That's not really a slight against it. I know it sounds kind of like a weird middling type of review of it. And this album is kind of middling. Like, I'm gonna be honest here. It's nothing outstanding. I'm going back on what I was acting positively about it. Now I'm being more demanding of it. It's middling, mostly because of the vocal performance. I like the jazzy bits. I like the production on it. I enjoy it in a sense. But I just feel like Aaron Fraser, I think this is his debut album, given that it's called Introducing. I feel like he could have done more to kind of elevate the musical style. The lyrics are kind of plain. The vocals are kind of plain. I feel like he could weigh in more, make it more diverse sounding, make it more, give it some more depth in that department. Also, we have Black Swan with Repetition Hymns. This is an hour and 20-minute ambient album. So I went into this thinking, I'm going to fucking hate this. I'm going to drop this immediately. But then the first song, it shows a lot of classical influence. It actually tries going beyond ambient, other than just playing like a tone. A lot of ambient kind of just goes for like this very simple droning. I think actually this one's also described as drone music. So like it's kind of boring. Like, it feels very samey, and usually you'll go like 30 minutes with like nothing really changing. I would think most people treat this as white noise or maybe something to play in the background. But with Black Swan's Repetition Hymns, I actually found it quite enjoyable. It has the songs. There's a lot of them, so they're relatively short, despite the album being an hour and 20 minutes long. So you have like an actual development going on over like these 3, 4, 5. I mean, sometimes some songs can get longer, but you'll have like a development over the short period of time. So even though it's an ambient and drone album, it feels like there's quite a bit going on with it. And I can really appreciate that for how many ambient albums and noise albums I had to listen to, that this one was actually pretty good. I'd suggest giving this one a listen if you're interested at all. I'm surprised I enjoyed it. And finally, going to something I did not enjoy at all, we have Guap Chat with their debut mixtape, Guap Tape. What the fuck? This one sucked. I actually found this one because I had updated Wikipedia's major releases page to include this one for like a brief time, and I just so happened to catch it. And they were kind of like doing this like guerrilla marketing tactic where like on Rate New Music they probably got like a ton of their friends to like upvote it. So it was #1 mix, and since they released it at the beginning of the year too, it was the #1 mixtape for a while. It's by no means going to be the #1 mixtape of 2021. The bars range from asinine and funny to like being so long-winded and fucking boring. And I can't imagine anyone really enjoying listening to this. It was bad. I regret listening to it. Well, maybe not regret, that's a strong word, but Guap Hampton, sorry. Guap Hampton is towards the end of the album. I was thinking I was almost on my way out. It's a 20-something minute song where they go in with these stupid-ass fucking lines that don't actually sound cool. They're just doing like a Entourage, Brockhampton type rap where they're all weighing in, but they all have like 2-minute verses. They all suck, and it's 22-something minutes, I think. That was when it broke me. That was when it became a 1 out of 10 album. Mixtape. This shit fucking blows. Alright, now coming out on January 11th, we had Treasure with their album The First Step, Treasure Effect. Now, I don't really care about this album. It's generic K-pop. I want to use this as an aside to point out how stupid K-pop names can be, because they'll kind of use weird formatting and weirdly used English words to kind of for like their names of albums, for their names of EPs, and for their own names, like group names and such. So I'll be putting up a few examples throughout this segment, but yeah, it's odd, and they should do better in the future. And mind you, these are all from this month. I did not go out from beyond this month. These are all examples taken from this month. So, also coming out on the 11th, we had Sergio Vallin with his Micro Infonias solo album. Now, I think this was a band member of some sort. He's a guitarist, and he occasionally will put out these solo albums. Well, I think the last one was actually 2009, so this one's 12 years in the making, I suppose. Pretty good. It sounds like cinematic guitar music. It feels very like if you put this to a scene, it would be a good scene. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is no like boring cinema bullshit. It's an instrumental guitar album, so nothing much to write home about, but I thought it was pretty good. Also coming out on the 11th, we had a single come out by Dayglow called Close to You. This is a fun, poppy, energetic little jam you can fucking put on and make your day a little bit brighter. I really enjoyed this one. Also, in terms of singles coming out on the 11th, we had Taylor Swift with No Body, No Crime. Now, this one, we have Taylor Swift looking a little bit sussy. She creates like this kind of fun narrative where, the song develops in a way where each verse kind of tells its own little story connected to the last, and they're all pretty compelling. Like, I was not expecting to enjoy a Taylor Swift song going into it, but she honestly has shown, she has some... I mean, not that I listen to Taylor Swift extensively, but on this song, she shows some lyricism chops, and overall, I don't enjoy country music, or Taylor Swift has obviously moved away from country music in the past, but this country-esque instrumental, I did not hate, and whenever I hear country music I don't hate, I automatically want to enjoy it more, just because it stands out that much more compared to all this shitty country. On the 12th, we had Hospital Bracelet with their album South Loop Summer. Now, I enjoyed this one more on first listen, but as I listened to it again, I found that the songs were all very samey. It's Midwest emo is what genre is defined as. So, you always get that kind of emo-ish, you get the sad sounding tone, about kind of just being upset with your point in life, with your current relationships, with your current, career process. That being said, I enjoyed this album for the most part. I would listen to it again. It is probably in towards the top of the things I listened to this month. Next, we had an single from NoFX, or Nofx, or however you pronounce that, with Linoleum, spelled interestingly. This song is apparently a kind of parody of an old song from this band, and I quite enjoyed this one. But I'm thinking it just because I would have enjoyed the other song more. Because the lyrics in this one are kind of lampooning the fact that this song, or the original song, actually wasn't that good, or some other shit like that. So, I'm a little bit torn in that regard, and the lyrics towards the end mention something about this guy enjoying to drink piss. So, yeah. On the 13th, we had Bandmade with their album Unseen World. This is another J-rock outfit, where the music feels kind of, it's alright, it's good, but the more you listen to it, the more it's put under scrutiny, it kind of starts to lose its luster. So, generally speaking, I enjoyed this one, but it's, eh. And similarly with Go to the Beds with their album, EP, Reincarnation. This one went in all different directions. The first one has a kind of metal-esque screamer song. They had a more downtrodden anime ED type sounding song. Then you got some more general rocky entries into this. I enjoyed it, but not greatly, and probably the more I would listen to this one, the more I would start to hate it. So take that as you will. Here we have another New Music Friday with January 15th. The albums that came out include, we got Benjamin Ingrosso with his I believe it would be pronounced In Gang Eat Titan. That might be wrong. I don't speak, I believe this was a Swedish album. This one I enjoyed more at first listen. Again, after listening to it again, I realized that it was kind of just generic pop. Maybe with some more, I wouldn't say synth, but maybe with some more throwback elements to it. And some songs are more enjoyable than others. I feel like it starts off weak and it gets better as it goes, which is probably why I had a more positive impression of it. I would say it's another example of a pop, simple pop album. So if you enjoy simple pop albums, I'd say give it a try. I mean, it's not bad. Pearl Charles, Magic Mirror. I like this one. This one was actually good. This was my second favorite album of the month. Now, this is a country pop album with like throwback elements. Like it has more like it sounds more like an 80s or a 90s pop album crossed with like a country album. And Pearl Charles, you know, she has these very like nice little earworm type hooks. It has the same earwormy elements as like an old 80s or 90s pop hit would have. And also I would say that that might also come as a result of her kind of just copying their kind of steez in some regards. Like I've definitely like one of the songs has a bit of a Don't Fear the Reaper vibe. Another song has a ABBA Dancing Queen type vibe. It's hard to not enjoy 80s and 90s pop. And the fact that she's kind of bringing a new flair to it, adding like this country-esque element, you know, and it's a nice sounding album, and I enjoyed it. I'm excited to hear more from Pearl Charles in the future. Another album I enjoyed quite a bit with Shame's Drunk Tank Pink. This one is another post-rock album, and I kind of realized as I was going through this month, post-rock or post-punk, actually this is post-punk I think, post-rock and post-punk have a bit of a sound that I can't really get behind. They kind of have this weird tone to them, this weird way of inflecting on the vocals that I'm a little bit torn on. Like, I don't enjoy it greatly. That being said, this album, when I revisited it, had enough like little melodic flourishes, enough little elements to it that I kind of noticed, and I was like, yeah, I remember that. Like, when I can remember the song better, I feel like this means it's a better song, you know, like it actually had some elements that were unique enough that I can pin it directly to this group, and that happened quite a few times when I was listening to this album, when I was re-listening to this album. So I feel there's definitely stuff to appreciate on this album, even if the post-punk type element and the fact that they kind of sound like other groups, I feel like they have enough like going for them that they're enjoyable to listen to, regardless of their influences and regardless of their inflections. Billy Cobb, you got his Bear album, just self-titled Bear album. Billy Cobb, he released Surrey a few years ago. That was an enjoyable Weezer-esque album, or EP that he released. Then last year he released Zerwee Part 2. This was a full album this time, trying to replicate the Weezer sound. But I felt like he kind of missed the mark, and the lyricism was a bit too straightforward. The songwriting was a bit too samey. I was hoping on the Bear album he would kind of try to break away more from the Weezer sound, and maybe try to explore some of his own musical elements. You know, really put into work his musical chops, because he is talented. But I was disappointed. This is just more Weezer-esque music that continues to miss the mark, even more so than Zerwee did, I would think. And I don't know, I wish he could either really look at what makes Weezer an enjoyable group, and, you know, not to say that he doesn't understand Weezer at all, nor that he's just cynically copying Weezer's style, but I would wish he would I don't know, like, I feel like he's missing the mark in terms of copying Weezer's sound. So if he's trying to do that, he should go further and really see how Weezer has managed to continually change things up and keep themselves relevant for over 20 years now, you know? Robohands, we got the album Shapes. This is another jazz album, another fun little, you know, you got different elements at play. You got like a little... Jazz is hard to really hone in on for me and describe what makes it good, but if you like jazz, if you have proclivity towards jazz, maybe give this one a listen. Dragony with Vivos Unitas. This is a fun, pounding, melodic, you know, like really in your get your fucking body rocking, get your soul soaring type power metal album. I didn't really listen to the lyrics on this one that deeply. My friend informed me that it was a bit corny, but he agreed with me that it's a pretty decent power metal album. And if you enjoy power metal, or if you just want, you know, some real epic fucking type music, you know, like a soaring to the heavens type fucking power metal, this is a pretty good album for you. Also on the 15th, we had Beach Bunny with Blame Game. This is an EP from the group Beach Bunny. I didn't enjoy it that much. However, the album art had an artist, I guess it will appear here, artist I follow on Instagram. So I was like, yo, I know that artist. Let's fucking go, baby. Also in the EP department, you had Nilotika Drum Ensemble with their short little 8 minute about 8 minute and change drum album Ejoka Walida. If I'm mispronouncing that, I apologize. This is a cool little, it's just a drum only short little EP where they play 2 songs on the drums. These guys are fucking, it's really cool to be able to see someone work their craft like this, and these guys are pros. These guys are going in on those drums like there's no fucking tomorrow. And you can really feel the music. It's hard, I would feel, to make compelling music with drums, and I feel like these guys did it pretty well. So give this one a listen. It's very interesting. A Panda, aka he's going under the name Little Panda for this mixtape, with the Little Panda tapes. Now this is a comedy mixtape, sort of meant to just be like a funny, I guess like Pink Season-esque album where a panda kind of gets on here, he says some dumb shit, it's very repetitive at points, it's very like asinine and silly, but there were some funny moments, there were some moments I actually enjoyed on it. I remember one standout was the slur song. I won't spoil it, but it's quite funny, it's quite humorous at points. Not great throughout. Sometimes you'll get like some really stupid songs, like the one where he's just talking about how much he likes to fart or shit or whatever. That one was fucking stupid, but give it a try if you want. If you enjoy Panda's content, if you just want a stupid Pink Season-esque mixtape to listen to, I'd say give this one a shot. Also in the mixtape department on the 15th, you had Ash Nico with Demi Devil. This one blew. This one was just like stupid. Don't want to say female bullshit, but yeah, no. This one was boring, lackluster, uninspiring. I did not enjoy it. Skipping a bit ahead here, we got the 20th. We have a album by the Japanese group Dean with Pop in the City, 4 covers only. This is a covers album of city pop. City pop is an enjoyable genre for me. And, it's just taking old good songs and singing them. So, I mean, you really can't lose with this album. I enjoyed it a bit. If you enjoy city pop, give this one a listen. Also on the 20th, you had Hiroki Moriuchi with his also a covers album, Sing-ist. Sing-ist, Moriuchi brings out a kind of weird variety of songs. Not all of them are that enjoyable. I wish he got to pick some more enjoyable songs, given that this is a covers album. But I digress. Maybe it's just the singing to blame. Maybe it's the production to blame. You never really know with cover albums unless you listen to the original song, and you can really weigh which one's better than the other. Overall, enjoy this one. I came my pants when the Bakke Monogatari ED came on. I was like, yo, I fucking love this song. And also, he sang a song from the Yoasobi album, or EP that came out, because I believe that song was released as a single and it became very popular for covers. So, that was also funny to hear that show up, but regardless, decent album. Coming out as a single on the 21st is Kieran J. Callanan, is single Dumb Enough. This is obviously playing off the Big Enough title that hit meme single he came out with a few years back, where you had 2 cowboys singing about how they'll maybe form a partnership as opposed to fighting. And that was a fun song. I enjoyed that one. Even as an ironic listen, I thought it had quite a bit going on with it. And I've been interested to check out his work since I've heard most of his stuff holds up to snuff. I enjoyed it. It's probably worth giving a listen. It's a jangle pop banger. That's not the right word. It's a jangle pop little fun song for you. So if you liked it Big Enough, if you thought that was even a worthwhile single to even think about, this one might be worth giving a try. Albums on the 22nd include 13, spelled with a 1 and a 3, and Pharaoh Monk with their album A Magnificent Day for an Exorcism. This is a very bleak rap album where this guy goes into kind of like different issues in America, issues in his life. Again, I listened to this one maybe like once or twice, so the lyrics aren't sticking too great in my mind, But the song "The Magician," he fucking you know, you got the I enjoyed it. It has the roundabout like bow 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 going in the background, and then you got 13 fucking flying off the handle with his lyrics. He's got that Eminem lyrical miracle type flow in a good way. I'm not making fun of him in that regard. And just like I think he like it's kind of like a campy song, and he kind of recognizes that. Like the chorus is fucking stupid, and he's like, I got a gun with ammunition. I'll make you disappear. I'm the magician. And he gets like really into these vocal inflections. It's just kind of a funny song, even if it has a more serious angle to it too. I think he understands like the lyrical miracle stuff is kind of campy and it's kind of played out at this point. So I enjoyed that one, and the rest of the album's enjoyable too. I just can't. That one's a highlight in my mind. You also have Witch Egg, or John Dwyer with his collective creating a album called Witch Egg. This album is a very eclectic jazz piece with some dark undertones. This is apparently the same guy who did the Breaking Bad soundtrack. So, I mean, he has some clout in the industry, so he pulled all these people together to create this cool, kind of jazzy, dark album. And I say dark, but it's not like dark in the same way metal albums are dark. It's kind of just like a, you know, like woodsy, I guess you could call it. Like, it's like dark wood type. It's like you're out in the woods at night type jazz, you know? So, give this one a listen if you're interested in jazz again. I enjoyed this one. Also on the 22nd, we had Hobson with Your House. Now, this is a very modern Eminem-esque record. Single. But the subject matter is actually quite compelling. It's quite sad to kind of hear Hobson's take on, or his experience with living in an abusive household and, you know, kind of encouraging people to find ways to help people in those situations, or find ways to help themselves if they are in that type of situation. It's very somber and sobering in that regard. On the 25th, we had Cold with his EP, Idealism. This is a Korean little EP. I listened to quite a bit of K-pop this month, and it made me realize not all of it's bad. Idealism is actually quite enjoyable. I thought this was a good EP. I thought he brought a lot of energy and a lot of enthusiasm to this, and there were quite a few like when I really realize the song's good is when it has a melody or something, or like a moment that really like hits me and stands out in that regard. And this album had quite a few of those. I remember The Tunnel being one that it was a transition song that really specifically felt like this project had a bit of heart going to it, and like a bit of, you know, this guy was really passionate about what he was making here. Though I will say, I was thrown off at the beginning because the first song starts off with like this kind of like English like guy, like this, he's speaking English in a way that sounds like fucking Pink Guy from Filthy Frank. He's like, yeah, come on, I can't do it justice, but like, you know, like that, come on, man, that kind of like, maybe a bit deeper than that, but it was very funny to be able to hear that and be like, yeah, that's fucking Pink Guy. Also coming out of the Korean department on the 26th, we had Dreamcatcher with Dystopia, Road to Utopia. This obviously falling in line with that kind of weird way K-pop groups name their albums, like Dystopia, Road to Utopia. I think they have a few, I think there's like a Dystopia series. They do like series for EPs, which I mean, I guess is not uncommon, but the way they title these is just baffling. Regardless, this is like, you know, you take basic Korean K-pop sensibilities and you take like modern J-pop sensibilities and you smash them together. You got some good moments. You got some okay moments. But again, I feel like this is another record, given that half of it is kind of like generic K-pop and the other half is generic J-pop. When you clash those together, you just have two differing sides of the coin where they're both probably going to get boring rather quickly if you keep re-listening to this one. But I decided to give them a shout. I thought this was worth giving a shout. If you enjoy K-pop, if you enjoy J-pop, maybe give this one a try. Funnily enough, Koreatown Oddity came out with a single called Breast Milk, which is just about a dude, a father, indulging in his wife's breast milk. As she has given birth to a child, she is now producing breast milk, and he enjoys drinking it. He says it's quite a funny, asinine, off-the-wall type single. So if you want something funny, brighten up your day, give this one a try. On the 27th, you had Porter Robinson with his single Look at the Sky. This is a anthemic, this is, very high energy, somewhat somber little piece Porter Robinson puts out. He's known for these kind of like electronic bangers that have like a bit of like a heart to it. Porter Robinson, my one friend really likes him. If you like electronic music, give this one a shot. Also on the 27th, Death Grips released their EP, Gmail and the Restraining Orders. Now this one was actually bootlegged a few years back, so this is actually just the official release of a already released thing. And, I didn't bother re-listening to this one. I thought when I originally heard it, it was a bit too esoteric and strange for me to really be able to get into. I enjoyed it, I guess, overall, but didn't really stand out to me. But yeah, if you hadn't given this one a chance before and you enjoy Death Grips, maybe give this one a try. On the 28th, you had an EP from Lexi Liu, Gone Gold. It had like a bit of Chinese text at the beginning of that title, but I don't speak Chinese. But Gone Gold, Lexi Liu's part of 88 Rising, same thing that Joji is on now. This is a decent synth-pop EP. I realized upon re-listen, it lacks some teeth. It's all very, like, straight-to-the-point type songwriting. But, that being said, not bad. I enjoyed it. Another EP, Twinkle Park, Touched or Been Touched By. This is a fun, poppy, noisy, in-your-face type little 8-minute pop EP that gets straight to the point, short songs, really fun listen. If I re-listen to it enough, my opinion might sour a bit. I'm a little bit hesitant with some of these because I know I might get tired of it. But it's an 8-minute, maybe it's a little bit longer, I forget. But it's a little short EP that gets straight to the point, cuts away all the fat, and I can really appreciate when a group knows to cut away the fat from a project like this. Also on the 20th, you had the single by Chad Van Galen called Samurai Sword. This is just a little funny, stupid thing about a dude who lost his samurai sword, and he's just asking if you've seen it. It's funny, it's cute, it's quaint. Give it a listen. 29th, you have Arlo Parks with Collapsed in Sunbeams. This is a little somber singer-songwriter, poppy, lo-fi, low-tempo type pop record that kind of goes into some... I find this one more interesting for its lyrical content. It goes to some kind of deep, and sad places. I feel like the songwriting is usually very samey, especially in terms of like instrumentals and such. But the lyricism, I feel, is decent with this one. I can commend Arlo Parks for that, especially since this is their debut album. I'd be interested to see what she does down the road. Another album here from Steve Wilson, The Future Bites. This one's eclectic. This one's interesting. This one goes off in some directions, and I don't really feel like it does anything that strongly. But what it presents is an interesting kind of spacey might be the wrong word, but this weird kind of like off-kilter pop record for you to listen to. This guy had a past in progressive rock, so I believe that's probably where a lot of the eccentricity on this one comes from. So give this one a listen if you're interested. Man, I better drink water for this one. This was a huge one. 29th of January, we had Weezer with their return to form on OK Human. This is the best album that came out in January. It is constantly... Weezer had a good streak. They came out with Everything Will Be Alright in the end, and then they came out with the White Album. People enjoyed those albums. Then they came out with Pacific Daydream, this very simple, millennial pop-esque record that, even if some of the songs are vaguely enjoyable, it really didn't bring much to the table in terms of sound, and most people kind of realized it was kind of flat, could be blown over with a single puff. Then they came out with the Black Album, which was a weird collection of like different ideas that they were going for. Then they came out with before that, they had actually come out with the Teal Album, which was just like a kind of shitty covers album. I would rather just listen to all the original songs. So Weezer was on the outs for a while. Then they announced Van Weezer. I was like, oh shit, new Weezer album. They got these fucking, like the singles they've released for it were good. I was like, yo, they released the one single 9 months ahead of time, but at least it's coming May 15th, 2020. Then they delayed it for a year. They released another single and then they released another one for when Bill and Ted came out. But Van Weezer is still not released. It's coming out in May, so we still got a few months off from that. However, in the meantime, they were working on this OK Human record. They did not emphasize that this, unlike Van Weezer, they did not heavily advertise this. They only really announced it a week before it came out and released the only single a week before it came out. That being said, I believe that was them having confidence that this record could speak for itself, because this album's incredible. It's this Baroque pop Weezer album that very much still takes from the Weezer kind of song structure, but it comes from the heart. The songwriting on here is much more interesting than it was on Black Album or Pacific Daydream, or even the White Album, because I felt like the White Album struggled a lot from having these songs that would kind of just not really mean anything, that would be about these very simple topics, just like, oh, this girl doesn't like me, oh, girl, we got a good thing, girl. We're gonna make it in this world, girl. And, like, sometimes I would kind of go for a more... Like, I'm not going to completely diss the White Album. I still enjoy the White Album quite a bit. But I believe OK Human takes it a step further by actually never having spreadsheet-esque songwriting and always kind of going up the bat with every song it presents. And, like, I've listened to this song over 30 times at this point, probably. I mean, this album over 30 times at this point, probably. And I just really... It's great. I was tempted to give it a 9. I don't know if it quite has the thing. It's still pretty straightforward, but honestly, I might come around to it being a 9 one day, but that's still yet to be seen. For now, it's an 8 out of 10, and the best record that came out in January. To take it down a notch, but this is still another very enjoyable album. This is a jazzy organ album by the Delvin Lamar Organ Trio called I Told You So. This is just, cool contemporary jazz, including organs, like the kind of like this type of, some of the songs in here remind me of like the Marble Blast Gold soundtrack, and like that's already a plus. Like reminded me of that game and the kind of aesthetic in that game, you're already kind of getting me like good. I like it. If you're looking for another jazz album, this is the one I recommend highly, the most highly. Listen to this one if you're interested in listening to any jazz albums. Also on the 29th, you had Pilot Red Sun with his... Pilot Red Sky is his alternative name, with his Medallion EP. Now this is some intelligent dance music, IDM, I can get behind. I don't enjoy it that greatly, but I believe Pilot Red Sun does good work, and I appreciate what he does with this type of music. Even... Like, I don't think this was his best work. Like, this does not hold a candle to The Grinch's Ultimatum. But, I enjoyed it, and I generally don't like IDM, so. Looking at the singles on the 29th, you had Mario Judo with It's Time to Rock. Now, this one, the chorus is fucking very anthemic, like, It's time to rock! Mario Judo is good with that type of, like, really, like, emphasized vocal delivery. I enjoy this one a bit. It's not his best, but out of all the singles he released this month, this one was my favorite. It's definitely danceable. It might be good to throw on a playlist for a jam every once in a while. But next you got Little Rice Field et al. With Anime Shoddy Volume 2. And that's just a funny... Like, usually when you go into an album or a single like this where it just kind of like stupid... anime humor, you kind of just expect them to be stupid, like, references, like, there's not really much to it beyond that. But this one was funny. I actually thought this one was rather, enjoyable to listen to. It's a bit of a banger. Lyrics actually they got some good lines in here. Give this one a listen if you are into anime at all, because, it's quite funny if you know what they're talking about. Finally, for the 29th, you got BB No Dollar Sign. However you pronounce that. And you got... Oh, Baby No Money. Baby... I got it now. And you got Diamond Pistols with Help Herself. This one, I really enjoyed on the first listen. Upon the second listen, it's kind of like... Not bad. Definitely not bad. I enjoyed this one. I still enjoy it. It's just not, like, as highly enjoyable as I thought. This one is, like, kind of like a, reminds me of the instrumental reminds me of Steven Universe music. Which is, like, I really enjoy Steven Universe's soundtrack. So, like, the fact that they kind of bring, like, this kind of yeah, I don't like, maybe even surf rocky type vibe to it. I don't really know how to describe it, but it's kind of like that like kind of man, I don't give a fuck type songwriting. I guess it's hard to describe. I'd say give this one a listen though. This one's quite interesting. All right, next one here on the 30th. We had the Jellyfish Ensemble come out with their debut single, Door. This is, full disclosure, this is my friend. He has started a band with a few other of his friends. And really, I probably wouldn't be even shouting them out here if I did not enjoy this song. This is a very, like, I would say professional sounding, but that's not very impressive for a, most music people listen to some professional sounding. But it's like this very, like, low tempo, kind of sad, somber song about a man, about a dude being betrayed in a relationship. I like the way they reincorporate lyrics. I like the instrumental, the acoustic guitar is going on. I just want to give them a shout out here. If this was not a single I legitimately enjoyed, I would not be shouting them out. Obviously, I have incentive to, but give it a shot if you want. And then finally, 31st we're on. We have Black Winter Wells and 8485 with Tracing Paths. This is a fun Owl City-esque little poppy record. I believe this one's also only about 8 minutes, similar to that Twinkle Park one. Give this one a shot. If you like Owl City type vocals, I actually enjoyed this one way more than I thought I was going to. So, we have finished the January music. I want to remind you, though I did not only spoke about 60 something here, I listened to over 450 records. I looked into over 450 records. Like, some I skipped, like a very small number, like 2 or 3 I skipped because either there were singles I had listened to, because like fucking some of these groups like Drunk Tank Pink or Viagra Boys would release singles that were literally like half an album a week before the actual album released. But I digress. I did at least give a shot to most things included in that. I think 465 was about what it came out to. So yes, best albums this month. If we're looking at like a top 5, I would say Weezer, OK Human, Pearl Charles with her Magic Mirror. You got Yotam Perel with Hills and Homes. You got the Delvin Lamar organ trio with I Told You So. And then Coca-Cola with, what was it called? Coca-Cola's A Gift to Us All. Those are my top 5 for the month. Yeah, I mean, really go through, see most of the stuff I talked about was stuff I enjoyed. So give everything a shot. Aside from the shit that I specifically pointed out as being not that good. Alright, so thanks for watching. I hope to do this every month. Obviously, I'm not going to go into such extensive listening procedures every month. This was an exception. Now I feel like I have a better understanding of what I'm looking for in music, and I'll be more interested to pursue those types of songs and really suss out what I'm enjoying from each month, without having to go through and listen to 465 records. Anyways, thank you for watching, and I hope to see you next month. Transition, quick channel update. This video is going to be out by the 28th. I'm thinking that the seasonal anime podcast that I should have had out by November is probably going to be out by either tomorrow, the 28th, or maybe March 1st or 2nd, depending on schoolwork. Other than that, the Kobaryo Circus Part 2 video. It's been a long time coming. Script's done. It's been done. I probably just need to go back and tweak some things as I go through and read it. And then I will edit that video and hopefully have it out by the end of March or maybe sometime in April, depending on what my schedule is looking like. But I'm going full steam ahead, baby. We're getting this channel back off the ground, bitch.